Nice day to get out here. Now, yesterday was a rough day for me as an artist, as someone who studied art history, as family history. Cathedral de Notre Dame, Paris, was on fire, and I had a good couple hours to sit there and watch this horrible witness to history. That here's something that survived for many, many, many generations, over 800 years, and it was on fire. And I thought about things like the rosette windows that were put in, I believe, 1250, and the whole history of that. You see a building, you see these relics like the crown of thorns of Christ, part of the original cross, and tunic of St. Louis the Ninth. You think about this and you see it burning. It's just a building. You don't realize the significance of it. You take it for granted. I'm out here in the woods, and what Louis, who would actually be my 20th great-grandfather, King Louis the Ninth, going back to the 1200s, crusader, king. I think a lot of us have his blood in us, to be honest. I mean, you're going back that far, but we all do. I do. I can look at my DNA and find traces of him. And to really idealize why he built it and what it stood for. The tunic of his was what he wore during the Crusades and wore as a king. And you have to understand, before that, people were held accountable for their deeds by trial by combat, or And he said no. He says it should be up to God. He was a very pious king. He was a very godly king. That's why he became a saint. He also died during the Crusades, a martyr, and some of his relics are there, as well as this crown of thorns and the original cross that he has, that he saved from Constantinople, okay, which was the Eastern Empire. So you take that into account. 1200, this guy's work to preserve these things is still there. This is a king who, like myself, enjoyed coming out in the woods. He'd sit by a tree and he'd talk to his subjects. Big oak tree. And he enjoyed getting around the average people, getting in those big spaces. And that's what he really envisioned with Notre Dame. He envisioned something, those flying buttresses, a place that encapsulated what he felt in nature, but something that would last for hundreds and hundreds of years. It was his gift to not just the French people, but to everybody. And then you go on down through history to like my cousin Joan of Arc, who was in her same right as saint, and her connection to it. And those are just two major figures in history. And the countless millions over the centuries who enjoyed that. So you're watching this burn. You're like, dear God, please save these relics. Please let it not be too bad. And you see the whole thing encased in flames, and it's just, I'll be honest, I cried. I cried. You get this dramatic picture. I guess the rosette windows are still intact in the 1200s. It's not just a matter of, they can recreate them, or some pieces need fixed. It's that nobody knows how to recreate them. I assume the secret is that they used mercury with the leading process to give that window that mercury look. But wow, you get that first picture, and there's still smoke and there's ash, and part of the stone cased ceiling collapsed. And the first picture is of the cross, and it's shining. That is the most powerful image to ever witness. And despite all the grandeur, power of Notre Dame through the centuries, I think that reminded me the most of what King Louis stood for. You know, he didn't fight for structures and buildings and these magnificent things that are. He fought for an ideal. He fought for values. And we can't forget that 800 years later. And us, that are his descendants, I'm going to contribute half the funds of my next book to restoring Notre Dame. I don't think it'll be as much money as the 25 million that one family in France donated, but you know, it won't be anywhere near that. But if we all donate a little bit, with our shared heritage and patronage with it, preserved for centuries to come, and it can all be structurally reinforced. The leading that they use on the stone, they can build an enclosure on the inside to rebuild. It'll take decades. I may never see it again in my lifetime, but it's worth remembering men like Louis IX, Joan of Arc, all those architects that didn't make just Notre Dame the house of God, the house of the people. So I encourage everybody, you know, feel bad today. It's a hell of a loss, but as Joan of Arc would say, take all those problems and give them to God to deal with. So I encourage you all to donate to Notre Dame, and I will be doing the same.